Hi, welcome to my channel. My name is Philip, and today we will just continue working on our head turn animation. We'll try to polish it, so let's get started. So here we have our character, Doctor Strange, and this is our current head turn. How we are going to start with that? First, we want to create a play blast, so we can see what are we dealing with. Let's create it. Let's wait. Okay, so in previous episode we created just a few poses and we didn't care much about the timing. And right now I want to go deeper, want to focus on small details and maybe, just try to refine it. So what is missing currently? I'm feeling that the whole movement of the head is slightly too much, okay? It feels like it's too exaggerated. So I will tone it down. And also I would like to make this settle down at the end of the movement. Slightly, I would like to last longer, okay? So right now it hits invisible wall, we just need to make it smoother, more delicate, more subtle. And on top of that I would like to add small facial expressions just to soften this movement, okay? Just to add more squashiness and more organic feeling. We do not tend to do that like in real life, of course, it's like a still cartoon, so it will be pretty stylized animation. And yeah, let's go. So let's turn this off. Okay. So first of all, I think this movement might be slightly faster. I will just select everything, upper body, and I think this part here could be faster, okay? So I will just move it closer. Yep, and here I think this movement is just too big. You can slightly decrease it, the range. You can do it like this. You can just decrease the values manually, like that, with manipulator, counter animating. Or you can just select it, just create a key here, for example. It will be 50% values and just paste it here. Yeah, I think maybe we are still missing the rotation Y. Which rotation is it? Okay, it doesn't matter. Yep, something like this. Yeah, and I think it goes too much in Y, like that. You can. Yeah, and right now it feels, believable. It's still too much in terms of up and down. I think we can just decrease the values here, and we can even open graph editor right now and just take a look on the graphs, and we can see that we have like this disgusting linear interpolation here, so we're gonna smooth it just by pressing A. And I think it's up and down, so it should be here. Just to prove it. No, it's actually different. Is it this? Usually it's X. Yep. Okay, I got it. So right now we can just take this. And here, just decrease these values. Maybe we can push this, so we can make this impression that everything works together, so his neck and head. We just want to make sure that the curves looks pretty similar. So for example, we just want to make sure that here there's also movement on the neck, not only on the head. If you get comfortable with graph editor, you don't have to even look on the results here. So then let's go to Y. And this is the problem actually. This starts to look problematic because layers tend to fight with each other. Right now you can see that, this is the movement responsible in this area. Okay, and here here. Yeah, so you can see definitely that right now it feels a little bit odd because those curves are fighting with each other, okay? They're like moving in the reversed motion, and ideally we would like to make them work together, okay, in the same direction. So for example, try to, let's say, edit the pose. We'll destroy it, but at least our curve will move naturally. We won't have this fighting movement between head and neck, because it's odd. Most of the time they're supposed to work in the same direction. Because, I mean, head and neck is connected right with each other. You are rarely doing something unusual like this, you know, like when head is separated from the neck. I mean, it's unnatural. Most of the time we're just working with those bones together. So even though, you know, we were satisfied with the poses itself, the movement didn't work, and it couldn't work just. So on the polishing stage, it's really important about the curves and understanding those, like directions, and understanding how they will work together. So for example, here you can see at least that, yeah, they are working together, they're going into the same direction, but probably the range between this controller here, between this and this, you know, it's pretty big. So let's see if we can, maybe we can decrease it. And yeah, that was actually the movement down, okay, with the head, with the chin. So yeah, if we decrease it, first of all, we will get closer to this, and on top of that, we will just, you know, have nicer pose. And let's fix that. And you can already see that, well, we have this noise here, we can just smooth it slightly, and here we can create this overshoot. It's gonna, okay, it will work together here. Perfect. And here I think we just want to decrease the like how high there is a chin position here. So we're just going to maybe use this, right, lower it. And take a look, just by translating the curves itself rather than manipulating here, you're keeping the relation. You're keeping the movement here, and you're just changing this part. But if we would just move, you know, like this, then we wouldn't be able to keep the nice relation between those two controllers, for example. Okay, so right now we are fine with the range of the motion, how far it goes, how the movement looks like. Maybe we can just tweak it slightly. Okay, okay, let's say that this is enough. Okay, it's fine. And right now what we can do to level up with this work, we can add some more settle down at the end, because currently it just hits the wall, right, and he's dying. There is no motion at all after this. So if you are doing, like, let's say, pose to pose, what you don't want is to just, you know, cut your animation once character achieved the pose. You want to make sure that character keeps the pose, that the viewer kind of notices it, like can read it properly, and then you can cut it after, you know, like, let's say 20 frames. Because at the end, you know, we want to make sure that this pose reads properly. So in this case, we just want to make sure that once he achieved this pose, he is still moving. There is still some like movement, breathing, and action on the body. I mean, in 2D animation, characters tend to achieve the pose and maintain still position, but actually in 3D it gets more realistic, people treat it differently, and because of that we need to make sure that every frame there is a movement on the body, because we kind of treat it more like as a real object, and because of that we just need to see the movement, otherwise it will feel dead. Okay, so here just take a look. We could make an assumption, well, it's not moving, right, there is no movement, so we don't need to animate that. But it's not true. We can always see something. So here, of course, since we are not animating from the reference, we will have to come up with something, just by ourselves. But okay, let's be creative. So for example, since we've done the overshoot here, so this frame could last longer. Instead 3 frames, right now it will last 5 frames. Okay, so it's already better. Let's create another key here. And for example here, after he achieved the overshooting position here, he might, for example, go slightly back. It's like we are talking about like super small values, just to make sure that he feels organic. Yeah, and right now it feels better. I think maybe it tends to be too big break between this pose and this one, so I would just make them tighter, closer together. We don't want to have this like a floaty feeling. Floaty means when there is a too big gap between 2 poses and there is no enough detail. The character tends to like float from one place to another. Okay, and maybe we will just go back. We'll just create another pose. For example, maybe something closer, maybe 40. Okay, and let's try to, for example, just make some subtle movement again. We just decrease the timing. Of course, if you are working in the studio, you can't do that. You have timing made with from the edit department, for example, from layout. You can just change something like that. Okay, it's good. It's good so far. Great. So let's go with the curves and let's try to polish this. I mean, movement is right, but maybe the curves could look better. What I like about this is the fact that currently it moves pretty similar in the similar direction, and the fact that there is a linear interpolation. What we don't want is to have something like this. Okay, so the movement kind of dies once the shot is finishing. I mean, there is no movement at all right here, like the 2 frames before. Okay, it's like decelerating. No, we want to make sure that there is a movement still, so we want to finish it at linear interpolation. Same with the starting position actually. We can fix that right here just by pressing this and changing linear, and same with ending. Okay. Great. And let's also fix this. I want to have like a nicer, smoother movement around this area. Okay, it's pretty decent. Maybe here we can also fix that. You can see here, we don't want to have this fighting curves. We want to make sure that movement is similar. Perfect. And let's work on another thing. So since I want to add more organic feeling, more like softness to this turn, what we can do is add some squashing. Once character is, on the bottom, he can squash his facial expression, and then once he achieves another pose, he can also stretch his facial expression, and then we'll have this like a squash and stretch action, which feels really appealing. And that's how you can add this softer feeling. I mean, especially if you are making a cartoony animation, the more cartoony, the more stylized animation is, the more you want to add those kind of details. Of course, it's like a nice accent, but you don't want to use that every time, because if you do this, of course, it will feel cliché and forced. So you don't want to use this rule whenever it's possible. You want to kind of think about this and add it when it's going to just increase the quality. Okay, so here I want to make sure that in this section we can also squash his eyebrows. Okay, slightly. Like this. And since he's turning towards this side, towards the right direction, I want to make sure that, for example, this eyebrow can start moving lower earlier. I mean, since right now he will turn towards the right side of the screen, I want to make sure that this eyebrow could lead slightly the movement. So we can maybe create this, let's say, movement here first. Try to use the biggest controls and then refine it with the smaller ones. So maybe here. And let's close the eye over here. And since he is closing his eyes, he can also maybe look down slightly. He can look on the direction of the head turn. That's also a pretty cool idea, I think. So how we can make it even cooler, we can add this breakdown of the body parts and define which part moves first. Okay, so for example, if there is a thought process in the character's mind, what I would move first is the eyes, okay, then the eyebrows probably, and then at the end head, okay. And just take a look, we're only talking about the head. After head moves, then you move your neck, chest, and then hips at the end. But you can get even deeper to that, and you can actually break down facial body parts. So first eyes, then eyebrows, and then head. Of course, it depends if that movement was intentional and if there was some thought process before the character turns, okay? Because it might be a little bit different, and I will also explain that in another video, because there is two different ways of head turns. Okay, so first let's create a eye dart. He wants to see what's going on there. Then he can start closing his eyes. Maybe we can already close it, Maybe he doesn't have to close them immediately, but after he's seen it, he can just start closing his eyes, right? And then we can squash it in the lowest part of the chin movement. We can squash his facial expression, so we can actually add some squashiness. Compress his face slightly more. And then here I think he can just still keep his eyes closed. And maybe he can just lower his eyes here. And here, once he's opening his eyes, maybe we can just lower his eyeballs. And here we want to make sure that he looks like in this direction. And also we want to make sure that here there is a first eyebrows are moving up. Okay, and I will try to lead the action with this eyebrow, since it's going to have to, let's say, lead the movement, because it's on the side of the head turn. Well, it doesn't give us nice poses, so maybe I will just stick to this one. I just rotate it. And yeah, we don't want the move, the eye darts to move around. So what you can do later on is just to turn off the follow parameter. In that case, your eyes will be independent from the head movement, and that's what you want. You don't want to counter animate them every time. But since we are already recording, I won't change that. And here we can maybe assume that this is the most open position. So we establish this as the most squashed position. We can actually even add some chin compression, maybe rotation. And here we want to make sure that this is the most open position. So for example, we can open the jaw. We want to make sure that here eyebrows won't immediately go back to the a basic state. They will just keep this position. Make sure to animate them on the object, because otherwise they will be totally messed up. And try to add some asymmetry. Maybe you can just even lift his one chin. Yeah, and it's good. I just don't like the immediately going back with those eyebrows to this pose. We want to make sure that it will keep this pose a little bit longer. What we can also do is just create overshoot. So I will just do this. I will create a key here. Okay, and I'll just move it. And I will just reverse here and here. Okay, so right now we can just clean up the mess with curves. And of course, yeah, you can just go back to this. I think we just want to create a key here, delete this one. Yeah, and let's keep this pose slightly longer. We don't want to keep exactly the same pose, so I will just copy this. So there is still some movement. Well, okay, that's fascinating. Why this didn't work? Yeah, that's nice. This looks good actually. So then he keeps this pose and then he's changing the expression at the end. So what we want to do is make sure that his eyes are keeping some position. How you can do this is basically manually in this like a brute force way. You can just add a polygon, for example, some box. The smaller the box, the more detail you will have. And then you kind of try to counter animate your eyes just to make sure that it keeps the position. Of course, since the box is pretty close to the eyes, then even slightly small change will have big impact on his face because of the angle. I mean, if the box would be like a kilometer far away, then you don't have to worry about this so much. Yeah, but at least I think we come up with some good results so far, even with the box technique. Yeah, you can call it box technique, right? I just came up with this name. Okay, perfect. Maybe here I tend to go slightly too much this side. Let's keep them in the same place. And here I want to make sure that we kind of see we can see his eyes correctly. And well, there is some deformation, but okay, let's just forget about this. And here, during this movement, I want to make sure that there is some small movement on the eyes. And maybe after like even 1 or 2 frames, there is an overshoot on his eyes or like small eye dart. And he can even, create an eye dart here. So for example, he's looking there, and then after 2 frames, he's looking more there. I think such a small break could be like in 1 frame. And then we can just copy the values here. And then maybe use 2 frames to just get slightly lower. Yep, that's it. And of course here you can add some facial expression. I feel a little bit guilty because I was doing something like a useless, eye darts. But here there's a room for improvement. So for example, you can just move his facial expression just to make sure that he moves organically through the whole part. If you feel like you hit a wall and you don't know what to do, then just you can open Graph Editor, there's always something. Okay, so that's what kind of results we currently have, and it's pretty good. I think it's way better than what we had in the beginning. Thank you for watching, hopefully you like this video. If you do, you can press the like button, subscribe. And if you are feeling just alone in this journey, you can join our Facebook group in our awesome community, and you can download these rigs, and we are releasing that kind of content every month. And we are also hosting the animation challenge every month, so you can join there. You can challenge yourself and work with other animators along the way. Okay, so thanks for watching and see you on another video. Bye.